So, this is a bass guitar. This is a Fender Precision, probably the most popular bass out there and a great bass for getting started. But don't worry about your brand of bass for now. Any bass is fine as long as it's set up okay and works. And if you've bought the bass brand new from a shop, then everything should be fine. So, first things first, let's have a quick look at the bass. Now, in terms of the anatomy, it's a little like a person. We have the body, the neck and the head, or headstock. So there's no arms or legs, just body, neck and head. The strings run up and down the bass from the bridge down here at the body up to the nut at the end of the neck. They then attach to the tuning pegs on the headstock, which are these 4 devices up here, and we turn these pegs to tune each string, which I'll get to a little later. So we can obviously pluck the strings to get a sound from the bass, and we can press the strings down on the neck to get different notes. So these metal lines that you see running up and down the neck are called frets. Each fret represents a note, and we place the finger down just behind the fret of the note that we need. So here's a C note, here's a D, here's an E. Okay, so over time, you'll learn the notes at every single fret on the bass. When we play a note on an electric bass, we have pickups here on the body that capture the vibration of the string, just like a little microphone. And if you're plugged into an amplifier, you'll hear the notes loud and clear. The knobs that you see here on the bass can do a number of different things depending on the bass that you have. But you'll usually have, at the very least, a volume control and a tone control. Now, don't worry too much about the tone control for now. You just need to make sure that the volume is turned up. So find out which one is the volume and be sure you have it turned up full or turned completely clockwise. And if you don't know which knob is the volume, just experiment. So when we get plugged in, you can just try turning up each of the knobs in turn. So this is my volume, turn down. As I bring it up, we get some sound. So just experiment with the different knobs until you find the one that turns your volume up and down. So we obviously need to plug the bass in to hear it properly, and to do this you need an amp and you need a lead. So most beginners will be using a bass combo. A combo has both an amplifier and a speaker all in one cab, hence the name combo. So to get started, be sure to plug the amp into the mains and turn it on. You'll usually see a power light on the amp when you do this and maybe hear a slight pop. As for the amplifier controls, you'll see an assortment of different knobs depending on the make. All amps have a main volume control that controls the loudness of the amp. Just turn that about a quarter of the way around to begin with, so it's set to about 9 o'clock. Some amps will also have a gain knob which controls the amount of signal that you're taking from the instrument. That will also have an impact on the loudness. So if you have one, set that to about 12 o'clock for now. As for the tone controls like bass, mid and treble, just make sure that they're all set to 12 o'clock. That's a neutral position, so neither boosted or cut. So now we have the amp ready to go, let's plug in. So first of all, plug the lead into your bass first. Then plug the other end into the input socket on the amp. Okay, now you want to plug into the bass first, otherwise you're going to get a lot of bangs and noise as you wiggle the jack plug around in the socket. Then once you've plugged in, be sure that the volume on the bass is up full, and then turn up the volume on the amp to the desired level, and that's it, you're ready to rock. Next, let's quickly look at holding the bass. So we have two options. We can be seated or we can be stood. So if you're seated, simply place the bass on either thigh. I personally prefer to place the bass on the left thigh because I find I can stretch a little easier and the position is closer to when I'm stood like this. But it really doesn't matter. So place the bass down on your leg, then put the left hand thumb in the back of the neck. Okay, so midway between these two edges, so just there in the back, and then just place the fingers down over the fingerboard. Then place the thumb of the right hand on the pickup there, with the fingers ready to pluck the strings. And that's the traditional posture for playing bass guitar. And obviously, if you're left-handed, you just want to switch all of that round to the other hand. Now, if you're going to stand, you're going to need a strap. So here's a strap, and you'll notice that there are these two pegs on the bass. So we've got one up at the horn end of the body, and then just one down here, just past the bridge. All you have to do is attach the wider end of the strap up at this horn end, and then the thin end down here at the bridge end. So just push the pegs through the holes. So we've got this one here up at this horn end, and then this thinner end here down at the other end, and you're good to go. Then you can just put the strap round there and you're all ready to go. Next, let's quickly look at the strings. Now, when we play a string without pressing down any of the frets, that's an open string. Okay, so there's an open G string. The strings work across the bass from thickest to thinnest, and we label them by the note that we get with each open string. So on a 4-string bass like this, from thickest to thinnest, we have the E string, A string, D string, and G string. So if we pluck each string in turn, we have the notes E, A, D, and G. Now, if you want to remember the order, there's a bunch of different mnemonics that you can try, like every angry dog growls or Eddie ate dynamite goodbye. But you can make your own up if you need to, and trust me, the funnier the better when it comes to memory. But basically, all you need to know is that the strings move across from thickest to thinnest, E, A, D, G. Now let's play something. So we're going to begin by just playing a basic open E string. So we want to get into position first. So remember what I mentioned earlier, you want to take that thumb on the fretting hand and you want to place it on the back of the neck. So midway between these two edges, okay? Then just bring these fingers down to rest on the strings. So we've pretty much got this kind of hand puppet position here in the fretting hand, okay? So then for the picking hand, take that thumb, place it on the pickup, and then you just simply take that first finger and place it on the E string. So this is the position we're starting in. Make sure that your volume's turned up. Then to get the note, we're just going to raise these fingers on the fretting hand and then just bring that finger there on the picking hand into the thumb. Okay, so this is called rest stroke, and this is the reason it's called rest stroke, because we're taking that finger, plucking the string and bringing it back in to rest on the thumb, okay? And that's all there is to it. So we've just got the finger on the string and then bring it into the thumb, okay? Now, if I was to play that note, but then place that finger back on the string, the note stops, okay? So I've choked the note. That's called choking. And this is the first step in learning how to control the notes that you play. So you pluck with the finger and then you stop with the finger, okay? So this is just in this hand. There's a lot more that we can do in this left hand as well, which we'll come to, but for now, all you need to know is that we're controlling the length of the note with that finger there. So let's try plucking each string in turn. So we're going to keep that thumb of the picking hand just anchored for now on the pickup, and we're going to try 2 notes on each one. And each time we'll play and then choke. So for the E string we have pluck, choke. Pluck, choke. Then we can move on to the A string, pluck, choke, pluck, choke. Then for the D string, pluck, choke, pluck, choke. And then for the G string, pluck, choke, pluck, and choke. Now, you might have noticed that as you moved across onto the D and the G strings especially, when you've choked off the note, you still have some noise in there. And that's caused by the vibration of the other strings, okay? So when we play, these other strings are actually vibrating and you're getting this residual noise. So don't worry about that too much for now, but as you progress, you'll learn how to lock all of that down. So what you'll generally do as you start to get a little better is you'll start to move this thumb on the picking hand across as you move across the strings. So you're okay on an E string, you know, there's nowhere to go with this thumb. But then when you move across onto the A string, you can then put the thumb on the E string. Then when we move onto the D string, you can put the thumb there on the A string and pull it back a little bit to hold down the E string. And then when you move up onto the G string, you can do the same thing again. You can put the thumb on the D string, locking down all of these other strings. So that's how to get rid of that unwanted residual noise. Now, like I said, this is something that'll develop as you progress. So don't worry about it too much. You know, you can put your thumb on that pickup for now and just keep it there. But it's just, if you've noticed that you're getting a bit of a messy sound and you're getting that residual noise, that is caused by these other strings vibrating, and you will be able to cut that off using the thumb as you get better. Up till now, some of the notes that you played on those strings may well have sounded very different to those that I played. And this is because we need to tune the bass. If you don't tune up, everything's going to sound wrong and out of tune. So it's possible to tune up with an electronic tuner, but in this lesson, we're going to look at tuning by ear. Tuners are great, but there are many different types. There are pedals, clip-on types, phone apps, and if you don't understand what note is which, it can be a little confusing. So for the beginner, it's much more important to learn to manually tune by ear. So to get started, we have to, first of all, learn how to use the tuning pegs. So have a look at the tuning pegs on your bass and have a look and see whether you have 4 in a line like this, or maybe you've got 2 on either side. When you have 4 in a line like this, like on a Fender Precision or a Fender Jazz, they move across in the order E string, A string, D string, and G string. So you can see how each string is attached to each tuning peg. When you have 2 on either side, you're going to have E string, A string, and then D string and G string. And sometimes on things like a Music Man bass, you might have 3 on the top and then 1 on the other side. E, A, D, and then G, okay? So you just have to look at the strings and figure out which one goes to which of the tuning pegs. So let's just play an open G string. Okay, so it's the thinnest of the strings. And then if you take the tuning peg there and then you turn it clockwise, you'll hear that the pitch drops. Okay, then we turn it counterclockwise. So by moving those tuning pegs, we can move the pitch up and down, and this is how we tune the bass. Now, bear in mind that on some basses, the tuning pegs are actually reversed. So if you were to pluck the string and turn it clockwise, it would actually raise in pitch. My Marcus Miller signature Fender Jazz is a perfect example. Certain basses do this. So if you do have a bass that, is clockwise to raise the pitch, you just have to bear that in mind. It doesn't matter, you just have to get used to it. So on this bass, clockwise brings the pitch down, counterclockwise raises the pitch. So have a little experiment with turning the tuning pegs, but be warned, if you keep tightening the string up and up, eventually it'll get so high and get so tight that it'll snap. And if you lower it too much, you keep lowering it, eventually it's going to loosen off so much that it just falls off the bass. So it takes a lot of turns to do this. You'd have to keep turning it, tightening it to make it snap, but it will eventually do that. So, that's just a warning in advance. Don't tighten it up too much because, you'll break your string. So I'll just demonstrate by tuning the G string, and to help, I've just created a recording of a repeating open G string that's in tune, okay? So that's going to be our reference tone. So here's the sample. So that's just going to run round and round. And if I was to play my G string there, you can hear it's the same note. Okay, so that's in tune, okay? Now, if I was to loosen that string off so that we flatten it and then play the G string again, you can hear that wobble, that horrible out of tune sound. So that's the sound of an out of tune string. So because I know that I loosened it off there, I know it's flat. So to tune that up, there's the in tune G. All I've got to do is turn it counterclockwise slowly to bring it into tune. And eventually you'll hear those wobbles disappear. And that is how we tune a string. We just want to match the sound of our bass to the reference tone that we're hearing. So, you can listen to a sample like that, or you could, play it on a piano, whatever it is. That reference tone, you want to get used to hearing what it sounds like to hear the bass and the reference in tune, okay? And as you could hear, when we're out of tune, we get that horrible, dissonant wobble in there. And as you bring it into tune, that wobble flattens out and we get a nice consonant sound. Now, if I was sharp, again, it's going to sound out of tune. So here's the reference pitch again, in tune G. Now let's sharpen it up, tighten it up. You can hear there, once again, it's that horrible wobble. So let's bring it back down. Okay, so again, you want to match them. So this is an essential skill for any bass player. You want to know the sound of an out of tune string. Now, just in case you don't know whether you're sharp or flat, you can tell that it's out of tune, but you just can't tell whether it's up or down. What you can do is take control of that by just loosening the string off. Just loosen it down so that you know it's then flat. Okay, so with the sample, you can hear there that it's low, and then you can just bring it back up. Okay, so always by just dropping it down a little know that you're going to be sharpening it to get it in tune. So with the lesson material, I've provided reference notes as audio files for each of the strings in turn. So you can just practice now trying to tune each of those strings in turn. And I generally tend to work from the higher notes down. So I go from the G string to the D string to the A string and the E string. And if I only ever have one reference tone to work from, I'll generally want one on the G string because it's just easier to hear the higher notes there rather than tuning with these lower notes there on the lower strings. So now you're plugged in and tuned up, let's finally look at playing some fretted notes so we can start learning some cool riffs. So let's play on the E string again. So that's the thickest string, and I want you to press down the G note. So this is the 3rd fret with your index finger. Now you may be thinking, which one is the 3rd fret? Well, one way to find it is to just count up the frets. So 1, 2, 3, okay? Which is fine, but you can also use the fret markers as a guide. So these dots that you see here, so you can see these dots on the front of the fretboard there, they're fret markers, and they're usually found at the 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th frets. So just think odd numbers. Then you'll see a double fret marker here at the 12th fret. Now the 12th fret is just a repeat of the open strings, but we just need that 3rd fret for now. So look for the fret markers, and then you want to press down fairly firmly with the index finger just behind the fret. You know, not over it, because do that and you'll get a rattle. So it wants to be just behind the fret there. And then you just pluck the note. So again, I've anchored the thumb on the pickup, got the hands in position, thumb in the back of the neck, press down with that index finger at the 3rd fret, and there's our note. Okay, so you'll probably need to press down quite firmly at first, you know, because your hands won't be particularly strong or used to it. So press down fairly firmly, and there's the note G. So now you can play a fretted note. You can just experiment in playing other fretted notes. So just try playing around the neck, just holding down various notes in different areas, okay? Just move around. And you could try, you know, moving up with the fret markers just as a guide. So maybe on the E string, there's each fret marker, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th frets. Then maybe the A string, D string, G string. Okay, just getting used to a nice clean tone. And remember, like I said, if you hold it down on the fret, you'll get that horrible rattle. So it wants to be just before the fret. So let's say on a 3rd fret, 1, 2, 3, there's the fret, and then just move back a little bit, just before it, okay? Hold it down fairly tight, and you should get a nice, clean tone, okay? So now we can pluck both open strings and fretted notes. You're all ready to learn a simple bass line. So this all is going to take place on an E string, and it sounds like this. Okay, so that's the bass line, and you can just try playing it round and round. So this riff all takes place on an E string, so the thickest string there, and you want to start by getting into position. So thumb on the back of the neck there, thumb on the pickup, and all we're going to do is play 2 hits or 2 plucks on each note that we play. So we begin with the open E string, so we have 1, 2. Then we're going to move to the 3rd fret, the G, which is that 1st fret marker. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, then we move up to the next fret marker, the 5th fret, and again play 2 plucks. 1, 2, and then we're going to move up to the 3rd fret marker, the 7th fret, and play 2 plucks again. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So we're just moving up this E string there. Okay, so try and get that down to begin with. For the second part of the riff, we play almost the same thing. We start on the open E string, 2 plucks. Then we move to that 3rd fret again, that 1st fret marker. Then up to the A, the 5th fret, which is the 2nd fret marker. And then we just play 1 pluck on the 3rd fret and then the 2nd fret. So that's the 1st fret marker, and then we just move down a fret. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and we're back to the beginning. Okay, so you want to practice that again in isolation. Okay, and then you can put them both together, which sounds like this. And again. Okay. So that's a really simple bass line to get you started. We're picking with one finger, we're only fretting with one finger, and we're on one string, okay? So it's pretty straightforward, but even with a simple bass line like this, you'll probably find that there's strange bits of noise, little rattles, you know, it won't sound perfect to you, you know, and it can be quite disheartening actually when you first try playing something on a bass guitar and you think, this doesn't sound like I expected it to, it all sounds out of control because you're playing through a bass amp, stuff like that. But just persevere, it doesn't matter. This is the absolute basics. So as you start to develop over days, weeks, months, all of that will tidy up, okay? So just persevere and just try playing through that riff. So that's your very first bass lesson. We've looked at the anatomy of the bass, how to hold it, tune it, and the basics of playing notes. In the next lesson, we'll get a little bit more adventurous and look at crossing the strings and playing a few more cool riffs. So I'll see you there.